Champions League quarter-finals have finished now, so going through each game individually, I think the best place to start is the game we had last night between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. What an incredible game. I wondered if Bayern Munich would be a bit more comfortable, whether they would, from the start, would have control of the game and not really have the lead threatened much by Real Madrid, but that wasn't the case at all. It was one of those games where Real Madrid really did show up for the comeback. It didn't work out in the end, but from minute one, you can see that they're going for it. Galler, what a game he had. He got the first goal early on, but this was the theme of the game, though, really. Every time Real Madrid did do something, Bayern hit back straight away, and that was the key. Pavard then getting Bayern Munich the equaliser on the night, back in the lead on the tie almost immediately. But like I said, from there, Real Madrid, they just did not sit down. You had Galler with his second goal, which is an absolutely incredible goal from the free kick. And really good performance from him. But then we see Bayern hit back again, not almost instantly, but less than 10 minutes later, Kane gets them back in front in the tie. So that again, they hit back straight away. And by this point, it's already set for like a real sort of classic match, a real kind of end-to-end match. And that's what it was the whole way through, end-to-end, just both teams really going for it. And that was the thing, Real Madrid knew they had to go for it, and they did. But because they went for it so much, I think that was why the space was always going to be there for Bayern. And you can only keep a team like that out so long. So it was always going to be a mountain to climb for Real Madrid, taking a deficit there. But they did give it a real go. You see Mbappe before half-time, then gets some level in the tie again. So they go in at the break, 3-2 up. Madrid with it on the night, with the tie level on aggregate. So a real opportunity it felt in that second half, and for a while it looks like that's how it was going to go. Like they could well get it to extra time. For a long time it looked like this game's going to extra time, even when they went down to 10 men, which they'd be frustrated about, really, because I think it was the fact it wasn't actually the challenger got Camavinga the second booking. It was the way he picked the ball up afterwards, which I think I'm disappointed about, because if that was the case, it was avoidable sending off, which is where, after sending off, that was where it went downhill, because I think Real Madrid then lost the belief that they'll be able to take the games of extra time with only 10 men, and will be able to perform in extra time with only 10 men. And then when we see Bayern get the confidence, they had the confidence anyway, but really kind of get the incentive to then go for the winner, which is exactly what they did. Luis Diaz puts them in the lead. We also see Elise, brilliant game from him as well, but he gets his goal right at the end. So from there, Bayern have it on the night of one as well, 4-3. So what a game on the night, 7-goal thriller, 6-4 on aggregate as well. Is a massive scoreline. That was definitely the most high-scoring game I think we've had for a while in the Champions League. That was almost a bit like last season, not quite, but almost like that into Barcelona semi-final we had last season. But yeah, that was right up there. That was a very memorable game. Although it went wrong for Madrid in the end, they came and gave it a real go and really pushed. But seeing as they're 9 points off of the top in La Liga, that is probably season done. But yeah, what a game. Bayern on course for everything this season. They're looking very, very strong. At the moment, I would probably say favourites for this competition. Other game last night was complete opposite to this game. A 0-0 on the night between Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon. Now, 1-0 to Arsenal on aggregate, and it was that goal in the first half, the first leg, right at the end, which was ultimately what won the tie. So Sporting to be kicking themselves. They didn't take one of those chances in the first leg when they was at home, and they played well. They also, also the fact that it was only that one moment, only the one goal for Arsenal. I think they'll be disappointed Sporting. I'm surprised they didn't score in the tie. I think that was maybe a bit of a disappointment. I know Raya had a really good game in the first leg, but even so, to not score over 2 legs, I think I expected a bit more in that sense. But equally though, both teams set up to be hard to beat, and that was the thing going into yesterday as well. I think very sort of cagey start from what I could gather. Really good chance of Sporting right at the end of the half. A couple of chances in the second half for both, but again, not really that much. I thought Sporting, although they had a couple of key chances, I thought they might go there and make things a bit more difficult, because it always looked like Arsenal had them at arm's length, apart from those few moments where, like I say, they did almost get themselves the equaliser in the tie. But it's always going to be tough for Sporting. Again, another team going away from home, having lost the first leg at home. So it's going to be tough. But Arsenal are just about scraped through to the semi-final. That's all they needed to do. And for them now, for both of these two actually, will be focusing on their league title race because they're both in a real title race. So I think unfortunate for Sporting, as far as they've gone in a long, long time, had a real good go as well. I mean, only lost to one goal to Arsenal in the end. I just think they might look back on the time and think maybe in this moment, particularly with Arsenal, the way things are at Arsenal at the moment, maybe we could have done more. Okay, so with Tuesday night's games now. Liverpool against PSG. Liverpool was always going to be an uphill battle, losing 2-0, but they kept the score at 2-0 in the first leg where they really barely had a look in. So I think that's something to take into the second leg. Only being 2-0 at Anfield was definitely doable. I definitely thought that. And I think the first half shown that, because although PSG had their chances, I think Liverpool got really close on a couple of occasions. And I think if they had got one of those chances had gone in before half time, I think then could have been a very different game. And also if the penalty decision had gone their way as well, could have been a very different game. But this was initially given, but this was another game that was sort of dominated. Well, not dominated, but VAR had a major say in the outcome, which I think they'll be a bit annoyed at Liverpool. I mean, whether that was the right decision or not, it's very hard to tell. They take so long to make decisions when it goes to VAR sometimes. But from there, I think as the game went on, I think Liverpool really needed the goal at some point, even if it was towards the earlier parts of the second half. The fact that it got to the point it did in the game and they hadn't got a goal, I think was ultimately where they sort of slowly started to lose the belief, and that was when PSG was able to capitalise. And especially when you think as well, the longer it went on, the more Liverpool were going to have to take risks a bit. So the space was always going to be there for PSG, because the one thing about PSG is you can't give them any space, you can't give them any time. You have to really go out and get in their face, like we did. We competed with them. Chelsea competed with them for 75 minutes. They were tested PSG, and then we really did go toe to toe with them. And then it obviously just went completely downhill. We just completely collapsed in the tie. However, that shows you what you've got to do. You have to match them. You have to play them at their own game. You can't sort of. But equally, you have to be so careful when you're doing that as to not give them the space. So when the chance opened up for Dembele to get that really good strike, he was always going to. There was always going to come at some point, but really good strike for Dembele. And from there, we knew PSG were going through when they went 1-0 up on the night, especially at that point in the game. They was ultimately able to go on and get the second. So again, Liverpool not scoring over two legs. That's more Champions League defeats than they've had in a single season now, in terms of the individual matches as well. So I think they'll be disappointed, to be honest, Liverpool. I think they could have had more of a go in that second leg. I think they needed one of those chances to go in. It was unfortunate on the night, but again, another underwhelming again from them, which we've seen a lot this season. And PSG, things have worked out nicely for them. Obviously, them having the weekend off before this game and all that. So coming into this second leg, though, I think this was a test still. Even being 2-0 up, it was a test to see how they would deal with this type of game, what the approach would be. Because we know what can happen to teams at Anfield. And there's PSG teams of the past that I think would have definitely come unstuck last night. But like I say, Luis Enrique's done such a good job with this team that it was always going to be more. He was always going to be more confident, I think, in them in this particular PSG team than the ones of the past to hold on to the lead. But like I say, Bayern Munich next to PSG Bayern, that's one of the semi-finals. That's going to be the test for both teams, actually, to be honest. But particularly for PSG, because we've seen a bit more of what Bayern can do against the top sides. I think teams that have played PSG this year, Chelsea and Liverpool, have been the two that they've had round of 16 onwards after a playoff finish. I think Bayern Munich's a major test. I think it's going to be a very close tie. At this moment, though, I think Bayern I would have as favourites. But to be honest, it just depends really which one shows up and which team really. I mean, both of them two. If one of them goes on and wins it from this point, then you wouldn't be surprised at all. But so it does seem to just be happening at Bayern this season. It just seems to be there. Even for them, they look very strong. This is the strongest team they've had probably since 2020 when they last won the Champions League under Flick. Probably since then. This is probably the strongest Bayern Munich team overall since then. But equally though, this is a PSG team that are at the top of their game as well. So it's going to be interesting. And they did pass the Anfield test there, PSG as well. Liverpool, after the Fulham game, had a bit of momentum going, and they was able to answer all the questions they put to them with ease, to be fair to them. So every time you think PSG will, I think PSG could come unstuck this season in the Champions League. So far, they have just completely obliterated any sort of challenge they've had. But like I said, mainly against Chelsea and Liverpool. But Bayern Munich's a whole nother level of a test for them. So it's going to be a very, very interesting semi-final. Now, the last game, going back to Tuesday's game as well, the other game on Tuesday, the last game that we've yet to speak about, Atletico Madrid were at home to Barcelona. Atletico 2-0 up from that home leg. There's always a risk with Barcelona. They were right up for it before the game. They wanted to turn it around, more than ever. And we know they like to come back in the Champions League. So it's going to be tough. It could have been a tough game for Atletico, and it was. It was, like I said, because they didn't start well at all, Atletico. They sort of played into their hands a bit, Barcelona. Again, just sort of, I don't really know, they just didn't really get started in that opening sort of 25 minutes or so. Getting the goal really early on, Barcelona, then getting the second. I know the second there was that thing with the offside, but again, both goals were, especially the first one, was self-inflicted by Atletico. And it was getting at that point, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to do this. They're going to turn this around, Barcelona. But then all of a sudden, Atletico, a bit like they did in the second half of the first leg, where they had just gone down to 10 men, Barcelona, and Barcelona started the half better. As soon as Atletico Madrid started playing their football, started moving the ball, the chance come for them. Exact same thing happened there, because that's what you got to do, because Barcelona are at the back. They can't seem to be able to defend this season. So, again, once they did that and got themselves back in the lead, again, that changed, I think, the whole atmosphere around the game, because Atletico were gone from a position to thinking they're crumbling. So hold on a minute, we've actually got ourselves back in the lead here. We've maybe saved this, and they did. The second half, I know there was a lot of controversy around the Barcelona goal that was chalked off as well. Ferran Torres apparently was standing in an offside position, and I know they were livid at the end of the game, Barcelona, because ultimately they wasn't able to get the equaliser in the end, so it finished 3-2 on 3-2 would it have been? I think, yeah, 3-2 on aggregate. But yeah, they will be looking back at that and thinking, and will feel hard done by. Maybe rightly so. Again, it's hard to say. The offside did feel a bit. It was very tight, and it did feel like one of them ones where maybe they were looking for it a bit, but either way, Chelsea, we've been on the wrong side of some decisions like that before, so I totally get the frustration from the Barcelona players at the end of the game. They were adamant that should have been a goal, and that's was kind of ended up being the main talking point of the game, despite the fantastic first half. And then going down to 10 men again, Barcelona, they'll be annoyed about that as well, because that pretty much killed any sort of chance. Again, that was another VAR decision as well, though. So this is why they were so livid at the end of the game, Barcelona. Whether they got it right or wrong, for me, they were difficult. It's a difficult one. But either way, Atletico Madrid have done it. They have got through, and I would like to see him win it under Simeone. Actually, I do think probably the manager I think probably deserves it most out of the ones remaining in the tournament. I really would like to see him win this. So the semi-final matchups we've got now, we have PSG against Bayern Munich, which we've spoken about a minute ago, how big of a game that will be, how big of a test it will be for both sides, but particularly PSG facing, because this is a big step up, I think, Bayern Munich from what they faced so far. And the other tie, on the other side of the draw, we've got Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. Interesting this, because both teams are yet to win this competition. One of them makes the final here, which would be big. Arsenal, on paper, the favourites, but we know what's happened to their form recently, and this does feel like a major opportunity now for Atletico Madrid to get to this final. It feels like it's shaping up for them nicely. Could this finally be the year? Maybe. It's definitely possible. I think whoever faces, a lot depends, I think, on Arsenal's form, how much confidence they're playing with. But we've seen what Atletico Madrid can do this season. They've made, they've knocked Barcelona out, which not a lot of people thought would happen, and they've done very well on their path so far to get to this point. And do seem to have grown into the tournament as well, got better as the Champions League's gone on. So I think they could cause Arsenal a real problem. I think that's going to be a very, very close tie over two legs, and I would not be surprised at all see if Atletico Madrid knock Arsenal out.